as well as at the NRSC, now that Tim Scott has been elected as the chair of the NRSC, as well as the NRCC chair, to continue to keep an eye on these House races. I would say if we were to clean up some of these House races, we could probably pick up a few more seats, thus padding that majority that we have in the House. In addition to, as far as the Congress is concerned, one of the big things that I've been working on is exposing the illegal election certification that occurred on January 6th of 2021. And what just took place today in the Senate is should be very concerning to everyone, because Mitch McConnell's beloved John Thune, who is basically besties with Mike Pence, who was presiding over that illegal certification on January 6th, he is now the Senate Majority Leader. And the most important thing that he is going to do as it applies to that position that most people don't recognize is he will be appointing the Senate Sergeant at Arms that will continue to cover up the January 6th Fedsurrection parliamentary coup. That's what John Thune will do on January 3rd of next year when the new Congress starts. And what does that mean? That means, well, one thing is that the chair of the Capitol Police Board alternates between House and Senate Sergeant at Arms every year. And so next year, control of the Capitol Police Board through that Sergeant at Arms then rests with the Senate, thus the Senate Majority Leader. Additionally, Mitch McConnell's boy, Thune, gets to confirm everyone or not confirm whoever is appointed by President Trump, to include the architect of the Capitol is appointed by President Trump and confirmed by the Senate. So I've always said that control of the Capitol Police Board is really control of the entire federal budget, because when you control the Sergeant at Arms, you control all the communications and all the video and all the blackmail compromise within the campus of the Capitol. And that is what's going to dictate and create leverage over pushing back against what would, we just did a mandate for Trump and MAGA and MAHA, but unfortunately we have a Senate Majority Leader that is not of that ilk. And the Speaker of the House is leveraged probably by outside forces, particularly Paul Ryan and faux news, etc. So we have to, my bottom line here in the discussion that I have here in the few minutes that I have is, the call to action is we must continue to scrutinize the electoral system maximally, continue to clean up voter rolls, and don't just take for granted just because someone's a billionaire or a trillionaire, or just because someone is appointing someone, it doesn't mean that they're the best person for the job. We have to continue to apply and introduce evidence of who is a better person to be in each one of these positions, of the remaining positions that will be had in this incoming administration, as well as in Congress. So with that, if you guys want to follow any detailed work I do on all these subjects, I'm on Rumble, I'm on X. So that's all I have, Raj, and thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. And how do people find you on Rumble and X, Ivan?
Yeah, my last name is spelled Raiklin, but my Twitter handle or my X handle is Ivan Raiklin, Raiklin. And then same thing with my Rumble channel. Those are the two free speech platforms that didn't bend an E, and those are the ones that I will be supporting myself with content.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for coming in. Thanks for the work you do. And Jerome, you're up next, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Jerome Corsi, and our work on election integrity has been done through gods5stones.com. You can take a look at that site. It's GODS, no apostrophe, spell out 5, FIVE, and stones is plural, STONES, gods5stones.com. What we've done is we have discovered a series of algorithms, which are these cryptographic codes that we found in the state Board of Election databases, the voter databases of a variety of states, including 4 of the 5 battleground states. In other words, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. We also found these codes in New York, New Jersey. We'll be reporting there, in Texas as well. These are, I'm pretty sure that there are codes of this nature in virtually every one of the state databases. Now, the purpose of these codes, these are secret codes, and they are number schemes that Dr. Andrew Paquette found, which allow for the criminals, and I think it's actually the intelligence agencies. I think this is an intelligence operation that has actually penetrated into our state board of elections and is controlling the state board of election databases. With these algorithms embedded, what they can do is they can create false voters, voters who don't exist. They can hide them in the database so they look like they are legitimate voters, which means that they get a state ID number. That way you've got a false voter that it's like a card marking scheme where, you basically have to open the card deck and shuffle it so you can start putting cards in that look random, look like all the other cards. Those are your marked cards. And it's the same here. They reorder the way the state gives out its voter IDs, not by the date you register, but by an algorithmic scheme, number scheme. So it mixes up all the numbers, and false voters get mixed in. They look like they're real voters. False voters may be clones, they're duplicate votes. They could be dead or people who moved out of the state. They can be people who are just made up, or they can be purged voters that are put back into the database. Now, because we found these algorithms and publicized it, and of course, the mainstream media has censored our efforts, but it's been widely seen throughout the country, and we work with the many voter integrity groups throughout the country. We've been able to educate a large army of poll watchers and others so that the Democrats did not use these algorithms in the mail-in ballot schemes in the presidential election this time around. They did use it in the down ballot elections. And so we have a lot of elections now that should be contested, and we're looking at a variety of them. For instance, the one that has interested me most is this Eric Hovde election, which Eric was running for the Senate in Wisconsin. And right through election night, he was leading until 4 a.m. They dumped 100,000 mail-in ballots from Milwaukee that were 99% for his opponent, and suddenly the opponent won. Now, again, I think these are indications that the algorithms were used, false voters were called out of the deck and voted, and the mail-in ballots that appeared because it was a false voter that
This meeting is being recorded.
vote. Now, what I'm wanting to do at this point is to take God's 5 stones and to begin an effort to work with candidates who lost close elections, especially where there were mail-in ballots that made a lot of difference. And I see we have Joe Van Houten Pulitzer on this call, and I want to be in touch with him because he's done excellent work on the forensic analysis on the mail-in ballots that has to be done in order to prove that they're fraudulent. Because this scheme allows you to do the fraudulent voting from within the algorithms by people who are not in the State Board of Election. The State Board of Election computer has to be penetrated by outside forces. The algorithm has to be put into place. It's very complicated. I think it does involve an intelligence operation. And they can literally vote these false voters whenever they choose to do so. Now, in Wisconsin, they've got nearly 2 million clone voters, which means duplicate voters in the database. Those can easily be used to do false voters. Okay, now if you go to gods5stones.com, and by the way,
This meeting is being recorded.
jrlc@yahoo.com. Touch with us about these elections that are considered to be fraudulent, and they can be investigated. It's good to do it quickly. I want to get some of these elections before they are certified. I want to go into some of the federal district courts and get injunctions before they're certified, because we learned from 2020, challenging a certified election is much more difficult. Now, the whole idea here is to be able to say that the database, if it has an algorithm in it, if it has this kind of a code, then what you got is already a criminal event has occurred, because it should not have a scheme in it, a coding scheme that alters the data or allows you to hide data, including false voters. So some criminals, we don't know who put these in the scheme. I can't identify today who did it. My suspicions that it's intelligence operations, I've said. I believe the national intelligence agencies are trying to run our elections. I think we are and have been living in a Truman Show where we think the elections are real, but they're not. And I do believe that we stopped a lot of the use of the algorithm in the presidential election only this time. Now, if we can get a campaign like Eric Hovde's campaign to be willing to challenge the steal, I think we can get a district court judge to issue injunctions. I think we can get the right to do forensic inspection of the ballots. We can bring in our team, which is able to identify which of the ballots that have been stolen. We can already give them the list of the 2 million or close to 2 million clone votes, which almost for sure about 845,000 that we've identified that are absolutely positively duplicate votes. And because everything matches, name, birth date, etc. All the records match. As you get fewer, for instance, if you don't have birth dates, you can find more matches. And sometimes the birth dates are missing on these records. Okay, now that's another problem with the records. The databases the states are using are intentionally riddled with errors, with ballots that should be taken off. In Georgia, we were able to find that there were 3,000 early voters this year who voted early. And if you take a look at the early voting history, the state Board of Election records as to who voted early, these voters are listed. And if you look at those voters' individual histories, it shows they voted early. But then if you look at the voter registration database, they're missing. In other words, as soon as they voted the illegal vote, the criminals removed that voter ID from the voter registration list because they had to have been on the list in order to have voted. Another case we found in Georgia that one voter who had moved to South Carolina was still on the voter registration list. The criminals voted that vote. Then they created a clone. They took the original vote off the database of the voter registration and they voted the clone. Then they took the clone off and returned the original record. So that record of someone who moved to South Carolina was voted twice. And we have the actual vote that was done that way. So we can say, here is a vote that was fraudulently voted. In other words, we're not arguing hypothetical. We can show you actual voters. And if we get the mail-in ballots and can do a forensic search, get the numbers of people who mailed in mail-in ballots, I'm sure the number of those a large number are going to be in the clones. It's not just a matter of sending people out canvassing to go knock on doors and see if the mail-in voters really exist. You can do a lot of this work from within the computer system, provided you get access and cooperation from the computer, from the State Board of Election, to give you the access to the various databases they have of voters who voted, what dates they were in the database, which dates they were out of the database, whether purged databases were restored. In Georgia, we found that 50,000 purged records were restored and it made active voters, which means they were not erased or eliminated. So Georgia looks like it has essentially two separate voter registration lists, one legal and one illegal. The point is they've got to mix them together, which is so complicated that it demands a computer algorithmic scheme in order to keep track of these votes and to do it correctly. In other words, to vote the illegals, find the illegals, the illegal votes, the false votes, and these are not illegal aliens, these are just false records that are sometimes they're even just ghost records completely made up, to find them, to note that they were voted, to see if they were removed from the voter registration after they voted. Okay, now that's a forensic operation. And again, if we go to the down ballot elections, we can prove that the algorithms are still being used. even though we didn't see the patterns. It's the other thing we're emphasizing. God's 5 Stone is the website. G-O-D, no apostrophe S, 5 spelled out F-I-V-E, and Stones, S-T-O-N-E-S, God's5Stones.com. And we're going to continue the work for 2 reasons. Number one is I want to pursue some of these close elections and do forensic analyses of them, and the ability to actually, before they're certified,
30 seconds, sir.
before they're certified, to actually check and see that we can show illegalities having occurred so the election can be overturned. We overturned one election in the United States by showing fraud. We're going to make a huge impact. And number two, we want to continue our efforts to find a voting system that works. Our current voting system is messed up beyond repair. These voting databases are beyond recovery. The states are not even attempting to maintain legitimate databases. The databases are fraudulent because that's the way the states want them. It's the way the parties want them. We've got to get beyond this uniparty. We've got to get back to voter integrity, or else we have a. And in fact, last point I want to make is that these are not just criminal events. These now, I think, are going into traitorous schemes to destroy election integrity. Thank you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. And thanks, Steve Cern. God bless this entire voter integrity effort. And we're honored to participate. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jerome. We appreciate it. We're bringing Fani on next. Fani, thanks for being here. You're up, sir.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Steve. Just want to quickly introduce myself. I got involved with election integrity work right after 2020. And during the course of the last 4 years, I have been involved with the voter roll accuracy because that's where I felt my talents and my skills could contribute to remedying so many faults that everybody has just, kind of deeply discussed very well. I formed checkmyvote.org, which is a volunteer-driven voter roll inaccuracy identification and rectification toolkit. We're live in Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee. And I was so thrilled about this last Tuesday when Trump won a race that was rigged from the get-go against him, because we could see every month in the voter rolls what was going on, and we were really apprehensive about what's going to happen in the election, with so many odds stacked up against him from day one. But it was a great reprieve, and I just call it a reprieve because while I saw that many people were busy celebrating, including myself, the evil, the evildoers continued to lurk in the darkness of the night, and they pivoted. The Democrats, I would say, pivoted over to stealing the House and Senate races. And I'll give you an example because I was looking at data. The Michigan's one of the Senate races, Mike Rogers was LSS Slotkin. And Mike Rogers was leading by a 5 percentage point up until the nighttime. And early in the morning, 3 a.m., there was a ballot dump of 928,000 ballots, which flipped the entire, game. And Alyssa Slotkin, Democrat, was declared a winner by a 0.3%. I mean, why does this kind of stuff happen only in battleground states where counting is slow? Oh, look, Arizona just counted one more ballot, fantastic, So it's just unbelievable. It's a joke, but it's not funny because I just get enraged when this kind of stuff is pulled right in front of my eyes. And, being involved so many years, I just feel like the battle is not over. Like many of the great minds earlier, just like mentioned, Jawan, and everybody else that I just heard speak all through this meeting was wonderful, because I just feel like, many people are thinking the same way. It's not over. And what really made 2024 tick and come out ahead in Trump, it's unsustainable, first of all, because beating a rigged race every time is unsustainable. You cannot say that we won and we're good. Offense and defense both worked out great. Like the too big to rig, fantastic, because when you overwhelm the polls, the fraud becomes very apparent. From a data analytics standpoint, I can say that if people don't turn out to the polls, they can easily kind of repurpose, reattribute votes to low propensity voters and kind of steal elections. So the turnout was amazing, but also the defense aspect of it, of election integrity, all the poll watchers, many eyes on this thing going on, also played a great role. And even now we're seeing that the Democrats are preparing up to prop up resistance to Trump by stealing these House and Senate races. And even before the election, we caught the Uokava. I mean, there was a big area of overseas absentee ballots where things were going on. We broke an article on Gateway Pundit just about 2 months ago, and that's key. be proactive. Like many others have said, reactive is not going to work because it's just going to be impossible. We saw what happened after 2020. You cannot react and remedy something that has been certified. You got to be proactive. You got to catch things as they're happening. And this was one of the biggest finds that that I think was greatly impactful. I get a daily FOIA request fulfilled from the state of Michigan. By the way, I forgot to mention I live in Michigan and I work primarily with Michigan voter rolls. But on October 28th, 40 days of absentee voting, right? Every day I get a file. In that file, it tells me how many people have cast their ballots. Simple file, right? And if you don't mind, I could just share my screen. And this is kind of went viral on Twitter right after I found this thing on that day. I'll just share that. So what you're seeing here is a graph of what I found. On October 28th, we found there were 82,647 voters cast an excess of 125,428 votes. So that is a ratio of 2.51 votes per person. And it was creeping up all along. I was watching it from October 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and October 28th, it just kind of, you see those big towers there. And we broke the news. Within an hour, our Secretary of State came back and said, oh, it was a glitch, forget about it, move along. And it just became a hush-hush, and then but the questions still remain. Were these ballots counted? What happened there? Nobody wants to answer any of those questions. But those are important questions because I know what's going to happen in the next midterms or as elections are coming up. They're going to steal your school board seats. They're going to steal your local, county commissioner, your land grabbing, all of this stuff. And then they're going to prop it up all the way to the state. They also believe in local action, national impact. We have to act on that proactively than what they're doing. And absolutely, the school board members are the ones teaching your kids. Presidency is one thing. They're at 80,000 foot level. They're like at the federal level. But really what impacts our lives are who is teaching your kids in the schools, what their agendas are. And if you turn a blind side saying, hey, the president is Donald Trump, let's just go back to business, things are going to get worse. One man can't fix everything. And it's thanks to all these people who are here, and thousands of Check My Votes volunteers across 3 states have contributed in large part to keeping eyes on every day on what's going on. And that's has to be repeated and just kind of kept in our minds that it's not over. Like Thomas Jefferson, one of my favorite presidents, said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. You cannot let your guard down, and you cannot. I don't want to repeat what others have said. I'm preaching to the choir here, really. But what I want to bring up here is the point that many others made, especially I think Joanne and Michael Flynn and General Michael Flynn, everybody else, saying local action, national impact, which is great, jives very well with the way I designed Check My Vote, because our data is available down at the precinct level, and we have precinct delegates and leads looking at data in their own precinct. And think about it, the numbers are manageable. If you throw numbers at people like, hey, Michigan's got 350 registrations that are in question, a normal individual would look at that number and go, I can't possibly do anything about it. It's such a large number. But when you look at a precinct and just look at your neighborhood, your numbers are like 150 or 200. A bunch of people after church having coffee could tackle all of them in a weekend, maybe 2 weekends. And that's what we've seen happen in Michigan. It's been wildly successful over the past 2-3 years. We made 20 to 25,000 challenges and converted them over to challenge state because of people like that working at a precinct level. And what's next with Check My Vote? Transparency. FOIA, open records requests, are the most strongest tool in our arsenal. In my experience, I have filed many FOIA requests, and I get all my data from there, point out problems in their own data and show it back to them. As a matter of fact, if I could share one more screen here, because I exposed one more thing last month. We just put our Secretary of State in the hotspot. And what happened really was that there was a question that Elon Musk asking, basically, are there more voters in Michigan than there are, are there more people on the voter rolls in Michigan than of voting age population? Well, I went and it's a simple research query. I pulled the data up, and then basically Jocelyn Benson is our Secretary of State. She says dangerous disinformation. Yes, there are more people in there, but because there is this NBRA Section 8D rule that allows them to be on there for 2 federal election cycles before getting removed. I said, okay, let's take that. Since you want to talk law, let's pick this up. And I went and researched how many people were in voter challenge status as of November 1st, 2020. Almost 500,000. It's 455,000. Okay. And as of October 1st, 2024, about 692,000 were in challenge status, but out of that, 74,609 linger in that same challenge status from November 1st, 2020. So we caught you lying, Secretary of State Justin Benson, because you said that in future, these extra ones will get removed. Well, what happened in the past? Why weren't they removed? And we put this out on Twitter. This just went viral. There's 45,000 views. But I thank Steve Stern and Raj for giving me this platform, because I do make a little bit of impact, because I like PIE, Jovan, I like how you break down all those things. But PIE, public influence, because I do data work, I only know data, and I don't have a platform to kind of expose these. Twitter has been great. Emerald Robinson has been great. Steve Stern, they've been great to kind of get my word out with my findings. And I continue to look into the data. And my plan is to use, again, the challenges I expect are the Secretary of State is going to chip away at transparency. Because I've found so many things, they stopped giving me some of the important data fields in the FOIA request. And I proceeded to sue the BOE, and I think I got 2 hearings already under the belt, but there's another hearing coming up in next month for my case against the BOE for release of that information, which without which my hands are tied with audit work. So transparency is key. FOIA is your strongest tool. Get your data, and analyze it. If you don't have the skills to analyze data, pass it along to organizations like True the Vote, amazing organization, Eagle AI, Dr. Rick Richards, myself, Check My Vote. We are there. There's a lot of data analysts hungry to munch on that data and provide analysis. And we have a great process at Check My Vote to double check all our work, and everything that we put out on Twitter is just 100% accurate. We don't go out, jump out of our chairs at the first finding. We peer review multiple times and get our data out. And it's important. Everything is in the data. Data facts, no one can refute. But if you talk in thematic terms, stuff like
2 minutes.
Thank you. Anecdotal evidence like, hey, this dead person voted, that dead person voted. Well, that's not going to go anywhere. You got to show it in the data, and you got to have affidavits, and you got to get into the system through a legal means. First of all, you got to exhaust your administrative pathways before you go seek legal relief. Because first of all, you have to say, well, I went to the clerk and respectfully said, hey, this person does not live where I live at, which is a great feature in Check My Vote. By the way, if you go to audit my address, it'll tell you who lives at your home or who's registered to vote from your home. And we found a lot of places where there are people registered to homes that they don't even know. I don't know who this person is. I live here. Go to the clerk and lawfully request them to be removed. When the clerk tells you that no, we're not going to be removing them, we're going to keep them on the voter rolls for 2 federal election cycles, that's when you say, well, no, I live here, it's a digital intrusion on my property, and then you can get into the legal relief aspect of it. So these are all tools in our arsenal that I've worked for the last 2 years or through 2.5 years that I've been involved with the website. But before that, I was more like attending rallies and talking to the school board members, etc. But anyway, that's all I wanted to share today, and I'm so happy to be here listening to all these great minds speak. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Fani, people are asking for your contact information, and Wayne Root is coming right after this. Go ahead, Fani, with your contact.
Yes, checkmyvote.org, and on X, I'm Deluxe Cipher. On X, I'm Deluxe Cipher. I'll just paste it in the chat here. DELUXEPSYPHER, Deluxe Cipher on Twitter.
Thank you very much. And Wayne Root, you're up. Thanks for being with us, and thank you, Fani, for all you brought.
Before Wayne gets on, I just want to say that Wayne Root was the first guy that said President Trump is going to sweep this election. And he and I were on together last night, and I got to congratulate him, because while everybody was saying, all these polls were coming out saying, oh, President Trump is a little bit ahead, he was saying that's ridiculous. He's way ahead. I also want to thank everybody. I just got some orders from Spain, from London, for the flagshirt.com. So we got a lot of great Americans wearing our flag shirt, which is very important. I got to get one for Wayne so he can wear it when he comes on the show next time. But Wayne, thank you for everything you're doing, and it's all yours.
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. We can see you. We love you.
So fire away. Tell me what, give me a little Q&A here, Steve. What do you want me to talk about?
You were with President Trump numerous times. Give us a little background. You interviewed him. You've been with him for a long time. Tell us why he won the election.
Well, first of all, are you aware of the news? Because you're on the air. President Trump has nominated Matt Gaetz as Attorney General of the United States. I mean, this is like the most amazing, unbelievable, unusual, unique news I've ever heard. I mean, it probably beats Pete, Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. I mean, Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Trump must want Matt Gaetz to go after everybody. I mean, this is like Machiavelli updated for 2025. I love it. I love it because the only way to teach a lesson to your opponent who's vicious, who's bitter, who's vile, who's violent, who persecutes you like a Nazi or a Soviet communist, the only way to get them to stop and make sure it never happens again is to go after them and put them in prison. And believe me when I tell you, this lineup, he named Tulsi Gabbard moments ago, National Security Director, and Matt Gaetz, Attorney General of the United States, Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. Truly an amazing lineup of people who are outside the Beltway that don't really give a crap about what Beltway insiders think or the establishment thinks or the Democrats think or the communists think or the deep state thinks or the DC swamp thinks. This is an amazing development. I mean, this is Christmas come early when I see this list of who Trump has nominated. I am so excited to be part of all of this team. And I hear that Kash Patel is going to be named head of the FBI. If that comes true, we're going after everyone. And they all deserve to go to prison for decades to come. These vicious people that persecuted Trump and persecuted Roger Stone, my friend, persecuted Steve Bannon, persecuted Peter Navarro, persecuted the J6ers, including my buddy Jake Lang, who's been rotting in a prison cell for 4 years, and 3 of the 4 years he's been in solitary without a trial. This is not America anymore. This is a Nazi Germany meets the Soviet Union, and it's got to stop. And the only way we could stop it, guys, is if we go after, don't persecute, prosecute. They persecuted. We have to prosecute and put these blue state savages in prison for years or decades to come. And I hope they're all on notice about what's going to happen. They got to be so scared. They're all shaking in their boots because they know Trump now has never going to face re-election again. He can do whatever needs to be done in this one term. And I predict it'll all get done in the next 2 years. He's not a lame duck. He's the opposite of a lame duck. He said, I don't give a fuck. He's going to do everything that we ever dreamt of. He's going to deport them all and build a wall. And he's going to put a lot of Democrat rats in prison for years to come. So I love it. I think it's great. As Steve said, in the whole country, the only one who understood that Trump was on his way to a landslide in the media. I'm sure many of you at home knew it, but the only one willing to say it in the media and put his nuts on the chopping block was Wayne Allyn Root and say landslide, electoral landslide, all 7 swing states, and a popular vote victory for President Trump. Said it on TV, said it on radio, said it in writing in my columns, and said it to President Trump himself. When I saw him 2 Thursdays ago, I was backstage with him, and he said, how am I going to do? You're the odds maker, Wayne, the Vegas odds maker. And I said, here's the deal. You're going to win by 12, landslide, but they cheat 10. So it'll look like you won by 2, but you win every swing state, electoral landslide. And he loved that. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I think he's ahead by 2 or 3 points right now. I think it's 2. I may have hit it right on the head, but it's either 2 or 3, and I put that in writing. So I'm very proud. I knew all the polls were complete bullspit, lies, fraud, propaganda. Pollsters were bribed, or they were just on the wrong side and oversampling Democrats to show their bias and to try and pump up and get Kamala voters excited and to demoralize conservative voters. Trump was never losing in any of the swing states, and he was never losing in America. Anyone who said otherwise is a liar and should never be trusted again. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And the last thing I'll leave you with is Trump wants to deport 20 million new illegal aliens. And I'm guessing there's 20 million already here. So that's 40 million. It's going to take forever to round them up, to find them. How many ICE agents would you need to deport 20 to 40 million people? So I say, let's do it. Let's start. Let's go after them. let's start with the bad guys. But on your first day in office, President Trump, announce no more welfare of any kind for illegal aliens, for foreign invaders. If you came into this country illegally, no welfare, no food stamps, no housing allowance, no aid to dependent children, no free health care, no Obamacare, no Medicaid, no free Obama phones, no nothing, no free legal aid, no $10,000 Visa cards. Everything is off the table. Welfare of all kinds, government entitlements of all kinds are banned to illegal aliens, and they will all self-deport. They will leave. You will save the money and the trouble and the time of trying to deport 20 to 40 million, because at least half or 2/3 will leave when they hear no more welfare. They can't live without welfare. They can't live without food stamps. They can't live without free healthcare. They're all going to leave. And on the way out, adios, arrivederci. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. That would be my message to all of them.
Wayne,
Yeah.
you're on the radio, you're on Real America Voice, you're on Lindell TV, and maybe 16 other things. How do you do it?
I'm like Trump. I was born with parents that taught me to work hard, that all of life comes down to working hard. My grandfather was a workaholic, came to America with nothing from Germany and built an amazing business, the most successful butcher store in Bronxville, New York. And he worked 18 hours a day his entire life till the day he died. And that's what I do, Steve. I just work and work and work. And that's what Trump does. He worked so hard, he earned the presidency. Kamala is lazy. I said this from day one. DLI, dumb, lazy, and incompetent. She didn't want it. She didn't work hard because she's never worked hard for anything in her life. She slept her way to the top, and she got all her jobs from either sleeping with someone or because she's Black and a woman or Indian and a woman. Never in her life did she actually work her butt off to get a job. So she has no idea how to work hard to win the presidency. And Trump destroyed her. He out-hustled her. He outworked her. He out-everythinged her. And she never even knew what hit her. It was like a missile coming at her. The Trump train ran her over. Best joke of the entire election season. Kamala got destroyed so bad by Trump that FEMA had to give her a $750 check. He just ran her over with the Trump train because she's never worked or earned anything in her entire life. And Trump showed her how to do it. Trump and I work hard. And like Trump, we have so much in common. I'm from New York, and I know the streets of New York, and I've never drank, never smoked, never done a drug. Just like Trump, I just work. And I got a really beautiful wife. So we have a lot in common. Every time he sees me, announces to the crowd, Wayne Root has such a beautiful wife. We have a lot in common. So I love the man. He's the greatest. I appreciate him. And we won. Viva Las Vegas and Viva America. We saved America. God bless America. What a great 4 years are coming up. And what a great Christmas this is going to be. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much. Pleasure having you. Linda Sinkowitz still on there?
Can't hear Steve anymore. I've lost him. I lost you, Steve. So, arrivederci. Bye-bye.
I got it. Raj? There you go. Linda, my favorite
You got
person.
me.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I want to just thank you and Raj for putting on these programs tirelessly for, I don't know, how many months, years have you been doing this?
2 years.
Yeah, you got thousands and thousands of people that got involved with this. I know with what our organization has been able to do, which is fightvoterfraud.org, we actually gave out to thousands of people across the country, the double registered, double voters. Right now, we're still giving it out. Once we get the new data in, we will still also be giving that out. We've been helping a number of people and organizations that have questions about people that have already voted. So we've asked them to give us data that they have on their counties, and we can look into our system and see if they have voted elsewhere or if they're already double registered, double voted. I guess we're still working in multiple states with this. Hopefully after the first of the year, we'll get enough funding so that we can then let people know, all the dead people that are on your voter rolls. And yes, we know a lot of them do vote. Like I've said before with Florida, they have the Lazarus effect down there. Those people die and they come back and they vote. So we have a long way to go in cleaning the voter rolls, but Raj and Steve have had on today some of the most incredible people, with everybody doing their own very specific analysis of voter rolls and everything they're doing. I gotta tell you, Wayne Root just put a big smile to my face. I mean, we should all be, again, very happy that Trump won, even though my organization is nonpartisan. I am now speaking as a individual. Very happy because now we can do something about the voter rolls. We all know that there's problems. Jerome Corsi has an incredible amount of data that he's been putting out there. And Fani, the same thing with you. I mean, so everybody, and Marley, who was on earlier, she's incredible as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Go to our website, fightvoterfraud.org, download, fill out for the free data that we'll give you, and we will keep you updated when we have new data coming in. But even right now, if you ask for data, you can double check ones who have already voted, see if they were on our naughty list, and maybe you can do something from there. But thank you so much, everybody, and it's fightvoterfraud.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Garland Favorito, you want to get him on?
Yep, stand by. Stand by.
Thanks to everyone for the amazing night last night in Georgia. It was quite. First of all, congratulations to Donald Trump. You did an incredible campaign. But I think what most of the folks may not know is how much eyes on the ground there were in these battleground states. This was a culmination of 4 years of our work for election integrity. We've been trying to, really save Georgia, and we got a lot of people to thank for that. Now, the America Project played a great role, and all of our volunteers, thousands of volunteers across the state. We had eyes on everywhere, and just like they did in other battleground states like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. And Arizona. So I guess what I could say is this is the last 4 years we have been working on legislative improvements and changes to make sure that this election would be legitimate. We didn't achieve everything. We still have to unplug the voting system in Georgia, but we put a lot of detection mechanisms in place legally and through state election board rules. So those all, I think, made a big difference in the difference between 2020 and 2024. And then, of course, the other great thing is that the Republicans were awake. This time they were asleep in 2020, asleep at the wheel. But this time they were everywhere. Great. All kinds of election protection activities going on nationally, and I think that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I think starting out with the legislature passing some really strong election security and transparency laws, it really started 24 off to be a major win for us. And we would love to have gotten rid of the electronic voting machine, but that wasn't going to happen. So the next best thing is to make sure you have security and transparency laws around the machines. And we had great Republican leadership in both the House and the Senate here that helped us do that. They fought really hard for it. We really appreciate the Senate Ethics Committee, which oversees election laws, and the House, what's the subcommittee?
We had a House Government Affairs subcommittee
and
specifically dedicated to elections.
Mm-hmm. So we just really appreciate that they worked so hard for us. And they have already said we're not done. So we know we'll have their support when we go back to the legislature in January. But I think having that success, plus the state election board rules and regulations that you just mentioned, Garland, made a difference. And the literally thousands of people that were out in the precincts, polling locations, every county election office last night that was processing had observers. There were more eyes watching that have ever watched before. So I think anything nefarious, they just had to let it go.
Yeah, and we're really excited about this new state election board. For the first time, we have a majority of the members who are actually fully committed to election integrity. They're being attacked unmercifully by the press and some of the Democrats, but they have stood strong and withstood just horrendous attacks to do what is right. So we're hats off to them as well. But in particular, our volunteers. We've had so many people at Voter GA who come up and said, hey, I've got this skill or that skill. How can I help? Some people have been able to donate. Some people have donated their time and their skills versus money. And some have donated both. But they have all made an incredible difference in basically turning this thing around from what happened in 2020 and what happened in 2024.
You know, I think also what could almost bring me to tears is the determination of these people, because the state election board members you just mentioned, and as well, there are a number of conservative, election integrity minded county election board members who are serving, and they have been under intense scrutiny. The attacks have been relentless. The lawsuits have been relentless, and they just keep on fighting. It's like the more the attacks come, the harder they fight. And boundless energy. I know people that were working in the election offices until really late last night, and they were back there early this morning as the processes continued. So we're all digging in and we're ready to make sure this is going to be done right going forward. And such a gift that we were given last night that Donald Trump is going to once again be in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and President Trump ran a great campaign. He reached out to Latinos, to Blacks, to unions, everyone he got on board. Even traded off Dick and Lynn Cheney for RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. That's the deal of the century. Probably the best deal of all amazing deals that he's ever made. But hats off to him. But we got to just say also hats off to all of our fellow election integrity advocates around the country. I know a lot of you will be watching this video, and there's so many of it, and I hesitate to even start naming names, but you know, we've got to just say thank you to Patrick Colbeck up in Michigan, Peter Bernegger in Wisconsin, and Heather Honey, and Tony Sheep and Karen Taylor in Pennsylvania, and Shelby Bush and all the folks out there in Arizona, and I could go on and on about all the people. I apologize if I left probably 1,000 names off that list right there. But we want to thank all of them for what y'all have done in your states to protect our elections. And also a big thank you to the America Project, who's been really helpful in sustaining us so that we could be effective.
And as well, Mike Lindell. He has been wonderful to help promote Voter GA. He talks about Garland and Voter GA, I think, all the time. And we just appreciate what he's been willing to sacrifice for this movement.
Amen. Probably no one has sacrificed more than he has. And also we got to thank Brandon House at Worldview too. We've been up here doing election coverage for him this in the last two elections actually, and he's another incredible patriot. And I've probably forgotten 10 times more than I've named, but just a few folks that have been so grateful, and helpful to the movement. Patrick Byrne, of course, through the America Project, General Flynn, and all of his incredible family. We just want to say thank you.
And we also have to remember Tina Peters, who today is sitting in jail because she was willing to stand up and say things are not being done right. And she is paying a very, very heavy price. So I would ask everybody to continue to pray for her. I would love to see her released from prison.
Amen. And we certainly are going to be praying for that. Is because of her, we found out all the Dominion problems. And so we're truly grateful to her. And we have not forgotten that she's in jail, and we will do everything we can to get her out.
So Jovan, can you hear us? Okay, Jovan. Okay, you able to come on now for about 10 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody. Jovan's going to be our last speaker. Everybody wanted to hear him again. We'll give him as much time as he needs. Wanted to let everybody know our next meeting will be on the 25th Monday because Thanksgiving's coming up. We got some top people have said they come on. My email out. I want if anybody would like to email me and let us know if you have speakers, please. stern1054@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody who is streaming this. We're seeing over 2 million people on this. Jovan, I know you got tons of people on it. We got radio, TV. It's everywhere. 100,000 are on the War Room. We want to thank Steve and Maureen. I want to thank my staff. We got a whole staff here that when you put this together, it's just not the easiest thing in the world, to get everything. Jovan taught me a lot. We did 2 Flag Day events. I want to thank him so much for doing that because the first one, he gave up all his time to do 2 weeks of work round the clock. And we had 9 hours on TV, which is amazing. And I love him. Go ahead, Jovan. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. There's a lot of people in this movement, and everybody's great patriots and everything else working hard to fix this. Where I was, we won a battle. We did not win the war. And we are at war, folks. We have a year. And you can mark that down. And the reason we have a year is because if we're going to get things fixed, we've got exactly 1 year to do it and get it fixed before the campaigning season for the midterm occurs. And you learn that with a lot of people trying to get stuff removed from the rolls and doing it within the 90-day period. I catch a lot of flack for talking candidly and directly. And one of the first things I want to do for everybody, I have no requirement that anybody loves me, likes me, heralds me, or whatever. And the reason is because this is an ugly war, an ugly business. And even in our own ranks, truth is not wanted and not rewarded. Every one of us are different people now. There's not a person on this call that is not a totally different person than when we started in 2020, really looking at this. And I said back then, it's one of the greatest gifts we've ever been given. However, what I was covering in my slide presentation was we're different now, therefore we must act differently now. And here's what I mean. Many great things happened and came about. People woke up and are now more civic-minded and voting-minded than they ever have been. And we got the gift of pulling back the veil on everything. Many things that we never thought could be true, like all our elected officials were after us and they'd be willing to kill us to get their way. But now we know it's true. But we're 4 years down the road and we must become something different if we're going to win. What got us here 4 years ago with everybody talking, everybody sharing, and everybody shining a light on it actually got people off their butts to vote. It's exactly what President Trump asked me. We're sitting there at his desk going through everything. And he asked me, with all these things broken, how in the hell did I get elected in 2016? And I said, sir, because people got off their butts. That's what's happened, folks. People got off their butts. People left the other side. People realized we were being conned. That was an effort of people talking and the left exposing itself. I'm sorry, I do not attribute the win to things we necessarily did in election integrity, because there were no changes in election integrity that happened. Yes, we knew things, but they used the same exact playbook. Arizona, other states are the example. 2020, they used in 2020, they used it in 2022, they used it again. Folks, we didn't move the needle. Don't kill the messenger. Just listen to what I'm saying, please. We got a little bit of a reprieve. That's where we are. We got a little bit of a reprieve. If you think, and you should be kind of concerned about how quiet it's been. I think we all expected riots and civil war and stuff. To me, something's coming, and we're not out of the darkness yet. If I could wave a magic wand based on what we learned, and you can go back to the first part of my presentation, I won't repeat that. I think now is the time for us to take the number one lesson that the Democrat national machine they have, the committee, taught us. And that means we've got to figure out how to work together. Period. Sitting here where we're still repeating words 4 years later that cost us legal cases, or we're still trying to explain what happened and we can't even use the correct terminology for what it is, which costs us in legal cases. I realize we've got to organize. We've got to become as proficient at election veracity as the machine that wants to kill our incredible constitutional republic wants to kill it and make it just a generic democracy. I'm telling you, we are not going to be able to do that if we keep playing favorites. If we will cut our nose off to spite our faces just because we don't like somebody, or if we don't inspect what we expect. Every play has been run. They've run the play and they're running it over and over. And just like I showed you at the beginning, they shifted from Maricopa to Pima. If you think about all the people on this call and the things that were shared, I want you to recognize the vast talents we have at our disposal. But there's too many islands. There's too many chiefs. There's too many teams and pockets and groups and subgroups. And by the way, in election integrity, if that crap worked, it would have worked 4 years ago. We're not organized right. No matter how much it is, we are not organized right because we're not focusing on what stops these things. We've got exposing it down, hands down, folks. We've got exposing it. People know mail-in balloting, all this other stuff. What we're not focused on is how to permanently stop it. When I look across this landscape, 80% of the things that we battle can be fixed in the contract stage, not the law stage, the contract stage. You'll hear other people, yes, we're introducing laws and we're going to introduce bills and we're going to do. If we have to go that far to fix this, or we have to sue to fix it, you will understand it's always after the fact. We got to get ahead of the fact. And to get ahead of the fact, we have to understand operationally how these things occur. And I'll give you a good example. Every state right now could demand of their ballot printers, the people that print the ballots, they could demand, we must know how many you print when you print them. We must know how many you mailed, because some of them are combined together. How many you didn't use, where are the ones you didn't use, what was the paper you used, and what machines did you use them to do it with? Now, if we just take that one thing, you got to understand, let's just deal with ballots. Between the post office, in and out, between the monies that is exchanged for that postage, in and out, between the printers and mailers of the ballots, in and out, between the paper stock, in and out, between our voter rolls and what came back, we have a complete edit cycle, which means if we just get the information, we have the easiest layup audit of all that does not take any oversight, does not take anybody special with special skills. But the deal is, we don't have it in our contracts. We're not thinking in our contracts, and we let people give us boilerplate contracts. I think the ballot is a contract for finances. You just got bound in this last administration for another $60,000 in your lifetime and your children. It binds us. We better treat it like a bank account, and you better not be a penny over. And so what I'm asking everybody to consider, you know, we got to get really picky about what works, what doesn't work, what's real, what moves the needle. Even though there's some of us that can't even sit at the same table, calling it like it is, we've got to figure out how to sit at the same table. We've got to figure out how to have the same words, the same lexicon, the same dictionary, and we've got to take all these superstars we have, people that are doing really great at freedom of information request, which so many people don't know how to do, people that are really great maybe at drafting a lawsuit or whatever. We've got to push these disciplines down into one very good oiled machine. The reason I showed those groups is we possess all of this. We just don't possess the will and the willpower to everybody get on the same team. Sure, we have calls. That's great. It's nice to have calls and see faces behind it. Gives you a chance to see some people out here, and maybe you can dispel some of the myths. But regardless, we're on the same team. This team needs to come together. This team needs to get serious about winning. We need to move as one organization. We need to talk as one organization, not half a dozen 501c3s and 20, 30, 40, 50 initiatives. And I'm saying it is with that hyper focus and truly dividing up our skill sets and coming together well-oiled like the DNC, we will be able to win this. We are not going to be able to win this no matter what we're up against if we continue operating like we're operating. Why? Look at who just went in as speaker. The whole system wants it their way. We are the people that know how to fix it. But you don't fix it just through legislation or only waiting for legislation. That's playing by their rules when a lot of this could be fixed by contracts. And by the way, what's the worst case when your state sends a contract amendment out to your ballot printer or your legislators block it? Well, you're exposing them for what they are. I suggest everybody figures out how to really come to the table with expertise and find your role. You might be that influencer and public communicator, and that's a great thing, and it's needed. You're the new media that replaces the media machine that the DNC had. We got to have our own media machine. You might be that great tech person. You might be that great freedom of information request, but everybody can't be everything. But we do have every piece. We do have great skills and expertise. We've got to find a way to make peace and come together, or we're just not going to have a country to fight for. That's all I'm asking people to consider. The myths, the crap, it's got to stop. All that is too petty for our great nation to have our little cliques and our little fiefdoms. We got one thing to worry about, and that's keeping the United States of America. We got the breather, we got Trump in. But I say we're only going to be as good as him. He's only going to be as good as us. We got 1 year, and we have to pay attention to that, not squander it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jovan. You're the king of election security, or whatever you want to call it. Like, and we appreciate that. And everybody in the chat is chatting about you, along with people from all over the world, actually. We got chats going on every place. I'm not sure if we got on yours, but we want everybody to bring this information out and bring it to us. I know Terry Raposa's on here. He gives me information all the time. Dan Schultz, Precinct Strategy, Sam Anthony, Your News, Norm from totalnews.com. These are all people that are helping us, and they do a wonderful job. Many of these people do it for free. And, we got Paul Bodine on, who helped me out in Nevada. And, we try to bring people out and give their names out because they don't get on TV all the time. And I'm lucky and you're lucky to get on shows and stuff. So let's bring them all on. Our next one is Monday, the 25th. If you don't come on, have a great Thanksgiving. Raj, you there? You want to round us up? By the way, thank you for everybody who's bought shirts. I don't basically own the company anymore. I gave it to my son because I'm an old man. And even though I kept a little bit so it doesn't throw me out of here.
An old man who works everybody to shame. Everybody should work like you at 80 plus.
So we got to buy www.theflagshirt.com, light it up. That helps my son. So, I got to keep him in good shape. Even though he doesn't work like me as far as politics, he works more for, selling and getting it done. So we thank everybody for coming on. This is an unbelievable call. The people that have come on, from Bannon to Jovan to everybody to come on, and Raj and I work very hard. Raj does a phenomenal job getting me people, puts this on. It takes a lot of people to do this. I mean, everybody thinks it's easy. Just regulating the time when everybody comes on is a nightmare, because just like General Flynn couldn't come on at the right time. I don't get to see everything. I have to listen to this again because I got 2 phones going on with people texting me. A lot of people have texted me. They want to see this. They want to get on for tomorrow's program. You send out 100,000 emails and 50,000 texts, and people want to come on tomorrow. But you could see it on Stern American Rumble, the copy. Raj, you got it on yours. We have it all over the place. We're getting numbers in. Over 1.7 million so far are on it that we can see. We got a lot of people still reporting. So we could be up at the 2.3 million. And our next one, we want to have 3 million. The more people who see it, the more people get involved, the more people we can get involved. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Raj, go ahead.
What are some of the countries that at least that we know of where people are watching this from?
Australia, the Philippines, Canada, London, Italy, Spain, New Zealand. That's so far reported in. I have to wait for some of the people to tell me. I know that at one of our meetings, we had Russia listening, Israel, Taiwan. I mean, people have streams that go everywhere. And we don't realize that the United States is affected by many countries. And, as soon as President Trump came in, we all saw what happened. All these countries changed their tune. And, all of a sudden, this is going to be a different world. But the problem is 4 years from now, every 4 years it changes, every 2 years. So what I said was I waited an hour after President Trump won, and then I got to call Steve Bannon, and I told him, hey, look, we got to get the people to work, because the Democrats lost. They're going to spend every penny they can to wipe us off the face of the earth. And we've got to get candidates to run. I had a guy here, General Chris Eddy, a wonderful guy. He ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but in Broward County, it's Democrat. I've never saw a guy run a better campaign. He started 2 years ago. He got money from everybody, but this is a Democratic area. So we have to find the Republican areas. We can never let a Democrat win in a Republican area. Remember that. If you look at Real Clear Politics, you can see who won every race and what the percentages were. And we need to look at that, because, California, if you take a look at California, it's all blue. And it's about 6 people that won Republican seats, Newport Beach and a couple other areas. But we had some fantastic candidates, because I interviewed a lot of them. And they just, the Democrats are nuts out there. So we've got to get great candidates. We got to help them, because, when I interviewed them, I see what they got to do. If you think I work hard, some of these candidates, they're unbelievable. They work 7 days a week. I got to take half a day off on Sunday, but that's it. I'm going to turn it over to you, Raj. I spoke too much today.
Well, Steve, thank you for making this happen. All those countries that we just heard of, all the podcasts, so that is Steve Stern and his team working very hard. So again, the takeaway here there's so many takeaways, but you heard it from Jovan. we have got to take advantage of this tiny window that we've been given and ramp it up. So everyone's heard that. I want to again remind you how you can get the access to the recording. And the recording is available at, in fact, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I just took my microphone off. There we go. The recording is going to be available at sternamerican.com, sternamerican.com. When you go to sternamerican.com, what you do is you click on the Rumble channel. And when you click on the Rumble channel, look for the live links. That's where all these shows are posted, the live links. Kathy, thank you to you and the rest of the Defend volunteers. Kathy's putting all the organizations that were here today. And I think we might be able to get that in the description, Anthony, of your show, if you want to put it there. That way people have it. If you want to save the chat, please save the chat. Click the 3 dots above the chat. Click it, and you can save it. If you're on a Windows computer, it'll take it to your saved in your Zoom folder in your documents. Again, I'm putting up here the flag shirt. Christmas is coming up. Please make your purchase there. If you're watching us on the live stream, you're probably not, if you're getting it from our podcasters, you may not be on our mailing list. If you want to get on our mailing list, text the word elections to 91776. So please make sure you do that. Here again is Stern American. Just scroll to the bottom, click on the Rumble channel, and then click on the live links, and that is how you can get to recordings. Live links right here. Also, American States Forum, as the government starts downsizing, you have to get your state leadership, your governors, your speakers of the House, your Senate president, you've got to get them to take up the slack, assume the constitutional authority. If that's of interest to you, check out statesrights.us, statesrights.us. We're going to close this show.
What defines the American spirit? Preserving life, liberty, and pursuing happiness. Caring for the nation we call home and its people. As patriots, it's our duty to drive the entrepreneurial spirit, pushing hard, reaching for success, sharing patriotism, because the American way of life is for all to live. The flag shirt, where freedom reigns.
And there you have it, my friends. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the next show. Bye for now.
The recording has stopped.